Dune Part 2 is just simply amazing, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie won all the Oscars at next year's Oscars because this movie is just wow. So I am super excited to talk about this thing, so let's just jump right into it. As always, this video will have spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, head over to my shorts, TikTok, or Instagram and check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about what could be the best film of 2024 when it's all said and done, Dune Part 2. So this movie essentially just picks up literally right where the last movie left off. We are with Paul Atreides, and he is with the Fremen people as he tries to learn their ways, and he's also looking for revenge on Baron Harkonnen while also becoming who he's meant to be, this messiah character for the Fremen people. Jumping right into the good, and this is one of the first things I noticed right off the bat with this movie, and that is the visuals and set design. Now, this movie was just absolutely beautiful. Every one of these shots, I wanted to pause the movie and just stare at it for hours. And some of these sets that they were on, and really just the sheer scale and size of some of the sets throughout the entire movie, were just amazing. And at times it really just felt like they were showing off in this film with some of these shots they got. I feel like when they were making this, they were just like, man, do we really need to put this shot in the movie? No, but it looks cool, so we are going to put it in there. And as a film lover, I appreciate that because, as I said before, a lot of these shots were just amazing, and the only word I can find to describe the cinematography, the visuals, and the set design in this movie is just wow. And I really shouldn't be surprised by this. I mean, Greg Fraser is the cinematographer on this movie, and he did movies like The Batman, Rogue One, and The Creator, which are all visually stunning movies. Now, I know we are still very early in the year of 2024, and there is a lot of that year left, but I just can't see this movie not winning Best Cinematography and Set Design at the Oscars next year. Next for the good, I have Timothée freaking Chalamet. Now, he really upped his game for this movie. He was solid throughout the whole thing, but when it came to that last hour, he pretty much just said, screw it. Everyone step aside, this is my movie. The scene where he gave that speech to the Fremen people right before the final act of this film was probably one of my favorite parts of this entire thing. It was awesome, and it had me ready to go to war with this dude. Then at the end of the movie, when he made the Emperor bend down and kiss his ring, that was probably one of the most satisfying full circle moments I've ever seen in a movie. In my opinion, this is his best performance of his career, and I hope he at least gets an Oscar nom for it, because during this movie, Timothée became Himothy. Next for the good, I have the sound design, and this is another one of those things I noticed right off the bat with this movie. The sound design truly immerses you in the film in that very first scene very quickly. You truly hear every little detail about the desert of Arrakis, and it just immerses you more in this film. And the sound design, in my opinion, is one of the reasons why this film is more of an experience to watch. Then you add in the music of this movie, which I believe was done by Hans Zimmer, and it just enhances everything. There were multiple times when I was watching this film where I got chills from the sound design combined with the music, combined with what was going on screen. And I don't talk about sound design that much when it comes to reviewing movies, but at the end of the day, sound design is one of the most important factors when it comes to filmmaking. And when the sound design is this good and literally enhances the experience of watching this movie, I just had to mention it. And finally, for the good, I have the action sequences. Now, all the action sequences in this movie were just straight up epic, whether it was them taking down the Harkonnen forces in the desert or whether it was the final battle in this movie. They were just all amazing. I just loved how they had the Fremen people using the desert to their advantage. I mean, they were just popping out of the sand and attacking people, essentially using ambush tactics, and I just thought that was so unique. It fit this world so well, and again, it added to the experience of the movie. And then we had the action in the final act, which was some of the coolest, most visually stunning sequences that I've ever seen in a movie. And don't even get me started on that final fight between Timothée Chalamet's character and Austin Butler, because it couldn't have been more perfect. Austin Butler played a great villain in this movie, and Timothée Chalamet's character Paul had just gone on this amazing journey throughout this entire film, so that fight just felt so well deserved when we got it. The only thing I hate about it is that Austin Butler's character had to die because I just wanted to see more of him. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is the overall flow of the story. Now, don't get me wrong, I thought the story was good in this movie. Honestly, it was great in this movie. But the only reason I have it here in the so-so is because it did take a second for that main story to get going. We really spent the first half of the movie with Paul trying to learn the ways of the Fremen, and during this part of the movie, it kind of felt like the main story was put on pause. Now, during this time, I did think that they did a good job at slowly building up the stakes for the main story, but all in all, during this kind of first half of the movie, it didn't feel like much was happening in terms of moving the main story forward. And to be honest, the main story doesn't really get going and get momentum until we're introduced to Austin Butler's character, and I just wish they kind of progressed the story more throughout this movie instead of more in the second half and the end of this movie like they did. And finally, getting into the bad, and let's be honest, there's really no bad in this movie, but there was a tiny thing that I wasn't too big of a fan of, and that was the way they went about Josh Brolin's character Gurney killing Dave Bautista's character Rabin. Now, they made a big point that Gurney wanted revenge on Rabin after he left that scar on his face, so as an audience we're thinking, man, they're gonna have a big fight probably towards the end of this movie, and it's probably gonna be pretty awesome. We definitely got that fight, however, it was about 5 seconds long. It was pretty much Gurney walking up to Rabin, they fight for about 5 seconds, struggle for a little bit, and then he just kills him pretty easily. And I know there is a lot going on in this movie, and they probably couldn't make this fight too long, but I still feel like it was a missed opportunity not to have a bigger fight between these two characters. It was just such a quick fight that it didn't feel as rewarding as it could have been for Josh Brolin's character Gurney. At the end of the day though, this isn't really that big of a deal. I just thought the fight between the two had so much potential to be freaking amazing, and the Marvel fan inside of me would have loved to see Thanos and Drax fight one more time. Also, on a side note, Rabin got so disrespected in this movie. I mean, it just felt like he got the short end of the stick in every scene he was in. I mean, he even had to kiss Austin Butler's shoe, and honestly, I kind of felt bad for him. But all in all, I think Dune Part 2 is a must-see. It's got amazing visuals, action, and Timothée Chalamet took this movie over with his performance. This movie is truly an experience from beginning to end, and I think this is one of those films that we're going to be talking about for a long time. Those are my thoughts on Dune Part 2. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.